Download the StableDuel app and play today.
Friday morning, that means we've got another edition of This Weekend in StableDuel for you. We got Matt DeSantis here. We got the sniper, Barry Spears, and we are going to be helping get you all set up for this weekend StableDuel contest for Friday and for Saturday. So just a quick look at the StableDuel menu for this weekend to let us know that on Friday, we've got Gulfstream, Santa Anita, and Sam Houston as options. But the big one this weekend is going to be on Saturday, the Tampa Slam for Sam F. Davis. $50 to enter, $30,000 in prizes. So we'll focus on Tampa and Santa Anita for Saturday. Matt, how we doing this morning, buddy? How's everything going?
I'm doing great. I got stunning news that it is going to hit 60 degrees in Northern Virginia. And so we're wearing shorts, maybe even Speedos. I don't know. It's going to be crazy, though, on a Friday here in Northern Virginia. With it reaching 60. Barry's reaching for a parka.
I was going to say that same weather.
Dude, it's 60 degrees here, and I have on a sweatshirt.
Yep.
So
that's sweats weather for Barry and me. Like that's sweatpants weather for sure. Barry, my man, how we doing this week?
good, hanging in there, man. How's it going?
Beautiful, beautiful. I always love these Friday mornings hanging out with a couple of my best buds. So we're going to do our best to get everybody fired up for this weekend for all these StableDuel games, and we're going to do our best to help make you some money. So let's jump right on into it. Very lucky that we get the opportunity to pull up the daily racing form past performances. These are the formulator past performances. For me, these are my go-to. Anytime I'm handicapping any races, any track, any StableDuel game, any contest at all, I jump right into these past performances. They make it real easy, as I like to show off each week. We can look at replays. We can look at charts. We can look at pedigree info, trainer stats. Saves you tons of time, very convenient. And right now, there's an incredible promotion for the next 2 months, all the way through April the 15th at DRF Bets. If you sign up for an account, they'll actually give you a big bonus. But every $50 you wager, you get a free formulator card. So you're not going to have to worry about paying a bunch of money for your past performances if you're betting, because every 50 you bet, you'll accumulate another credit, and then boom, you got credit for one of these cards that you want for later in the week, later in the month, whenever you need. So Barry, my man, we're going to start at Gulfstream Park on Friday. Where do you want to start?
Oh, we're starting off early, my friend. Race number 1.
Right off the bat, we're going to get it rolling. Where are we
Race
going?
number 1. I like the 6, Canaan.
Okay.
It's such a weird race because there's obviously you're going to get a lot of weird races when you have lower level maiden claimers. I think all these horses have kind of shown themselves. I mean, Regal Holiday has 7 slices at it. Danley had 9. They really haven't shown anything of note. Even the 3 had a few slices at this, and just haven't really stepped up. I mean, you have a horse in Slow Gin Biz who, is going to attract some attention, but he's had numerous chances. I know they're dropping in today, but still, I mean, I can't be so confident in a horse like that's run 10 times and finished second or third 5. I mean, that just doesn't bode well or look good on, when I'm looking at the races. That's something that I want to try to stay away from. It's just, horses tend to kind of develop habits and I don't want to say this horse is a chronic loser, but it may be in that category. So it's kind of like
pack animals, right? They don't realize what they're supposed to do. They think they're just supposed to run around with the group, finish right behind them, and that's fine.
Right. So I see horses like that win by accident, I say, when they just are just better than everybody else and they try to lose and they still win.
Yep.
But Canaan doesn't have too many knocks on him. And that's really the reason why I went to this horse. I mean, ran on the turf first time out in July, didn't run that badly, and then had some time off until January. And probably needed that race. The horse that came out of that race and ran well yesterday was Mr. McHugh. Or McWay, I think, maybe. I don't know. Ran good yesterday. I just think this is a good spot for this horse. 8-1. Spending $3,000 is not going to hurt you.
Great spot. Lightly raced upside. In these races like this, these low-level maiden claimers or these low-restricted claimers, I'm always looking for the horses with the most upside here. Canaan has that. This horse has some early speed should be forwardly placed in here. These are races where you don't want horses that are going to have to come from the back and pass a bunch of others. The race that he exits has already come back live. Unified Conquest came back to win at this maiden 16 level and did it by 2.5 and earned a decent buyer for a field like that. So Barry, I think you got a great spot right off the bat to try to get yourself some points, and you're not going to be spending a whole bunch on Canaan. Only 8-1 on the morning line, 3,000 there in the opener at Gulfstream Park. Matt, I have Santa Anita and Sam Houston for Friday, so I think Barry's got one more at Gulfstream. How about you? Do you have any Gulfstream for Friday?
Yeah. I got 2 for Gulfstream on Friday. And in fact, I have 3 in case Barry and I overlap. So,
okay, perfect.
I got plenty.
Let's go. Let's hang around at Gulfstream. Where are we headed next?
But let's head to race number 3.
Yep.
And let's go to the 3 horse actually in that race, Righteous Roy, which is 8-1. And this is it really follows up on what we were just talking about. $43,000 maiden optional claiming, 1.16 miles on turf for 4-year-old Florida breds. Righteous Roy is going to cost you $3,000. Like I said, 8-1 morning line odds. It's an interesting horse because the one thing I know about this horse is it's not a synthetic horse. But it had a huge perk up on dirt. And interestingly enough, its last workout on turf looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so clearly this horse is very sensitive to surface. It's a little bit of a long shot, but listen, this is a horse that's also dropping down in class, going from maiden special weights down to a maiden optional claimer. So they're dropping down a little bit. This horse is clearly capable from a speed standpoint of running a number big enough to win this race potentially. Absolutely. And if you even if this horse splits the difference almost between how it ran on synthetic and dirt, it's still going to probably end up on the board. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to like here. And if you notice, Irad Ortiz Jr.'s, on the saddle, Irad just doesn't pick up, rides for the heck of it.
No.
And so this is a horse I think you got to take pretty seriously in this spot. And the trainer, in addition to that, Jeff Hiles, doesn't have a huge barn, but he does have success with horses coming off a brief layoff. This horse last raced in December. And so, Hiles is winning at a 31% clip with an 8.78 ROI in those instances. So I just think the surface change for this horse to turf, I think based on that workout that right before race for that February 1st turf workout, I think there's something there. I'm not overwhelmed necessarily with a lot of the horses in this field. As Barry pointed out, a lot of horses have had multiple bites at things here. And so I'm going to go with Righteous Roy, the 3 horse in the 3rd race for $3,000. A lot of 3s there. It all lines up.
Yeah, very, very important question. Are we talking Hobbs or Kent?
Ooh,
boys.
Because of my cap I'm wearing right now, you got to go Roy Hobbs, right? I mean, that's the look in the natural. So yeah,
that's one of those that when people talk about baseball movies, I don't think people put that one in the conversation quite enough. It's sort of older and it's got that's a fantastic movie.
Wonder Boy.
Pick me a winner. Yeah, pick me a winner, Bobby. I mean, it's it's as good as it gets. Yeah,
she's so good. And then shout out to Roy Kent, who many people makes
such a bizarre story, though. I mean, I just didn't understand the whole point of him getting shot. Some lady is just a psychopath, wanted to shoot athletes.
Looking back on that movie, it's insane. I mean, the plot makes no sense.
It's nuts. Like if you think about if that movie were to be updated today, it would be like
a horror movie.
You know what I mean? It would be really, like a terrifying movie. It's funny. I was just total tangent here, but I was just talking to my girlfriend last night. We were joking about how, with the Disney movies, they have all the live action ones now. They have like Lion King or Aladdin. I said, I don't think they'll ever be able to do a Pinocchio one because that'd be like a horror movie. You think about like Pinocchio and he's like the boy comes to life and then he's with all the misfit kids and then they're like doing all these drugs and drinking and they
already got that. It's Chucky.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like
I already got that, except for the nose part. Everything else.
I never put 2 and 2 together, but you're right. Pinocchio, Chucky. There we go. We're already off the rails super early on this Friday morning here on this weekend at StableDuel. So we got another nice horse. It's not going to cost you a whole lot. It's just 8-1, $3,000 in your StableDuel lineup. Barry, where are we headed next on Friday at Gulfstream?
Race 8.
Okie dokie. Let's get
race number 8.
Race 8. And who are we looking at?
This is an optional claimer, 12,000 state breds. I ended up with number 8, Cozy Dreams. I think this horse is actually going to take some action here. 12-1 seems a little bit long on the morning line. There's a lot of speed to her inside, which I do like, and I think this horse is going to get an excellent trip here. She's fast enough to get within earshot of the lead, so she's going to get a nice stalking trip behind whatever speed goes out there first. And I think they're going to really blast out of the gate here. As long as she doesn't go with them and kind of sits back a little bit, I think this horse will be excellent. I like the trip. I think everything's going to fall in line for this horse to run well today. And at 12-1, I think it's 1,000 or 750. 750. I mean, this is the perfect time for that, especially late in the game if you use some of your bullets early.
What's great, I love playing horses like this so you see Domineer that's beat Cozy Dreams a bunch of times. The problem is that anytime these two face, if it's a small field or there's not a lot of speed, Domineer is going to win. So absolutely. I never hold it against Cozy Dreams losing in races like that to Domineer. You just got to hope. You just got to wait sort of for the right opportunities to where there's a little bit more speed, so this one can sit off. And great find here with Cozy Dreams. Not going to cost you much at all off that 12-1 morning line. Just $750 in your stable dual lineups for the sniper. We've got 8's Wild in Gulfstream's 8th race on Friday. Matt, where else are we going to head on Friday at Gulfstream Park?
And that's why I picked 3 horses today, because Cozy Dreams was one of my other ones.
That's so funny.
So
man,
I love that horse as well.
Kismet with you two, right? It's like
galaxy brain stuff. And so we're no, I love that horse too. And that horse is, even when it finishes behind Domineer, it's by a length, by a length and a half maybe. And again, Domineer 7-2. You're telling me a horse that even under not ideal conditions for it is a length worse is 12-1. Like that just seems like way too big of a gap between those two horses when the gap on the track is not as significant. And by the way, Cozy's Dream has actually beat Domineer before. So, for all the reasons Barry said, I really like this one. But I will move off of this one and give you another one, and we can go to race 5. Okay. And I like the number 10 horse, and race 5 is a $35,000 starter optional claiming, 7.5 furlongs on turf for fillies 3 and up. I'm not really overwhelmed by anyone in this field. And the 10, Mandy Green, and maybe, my first girlfriend, her name was Mandy. So maybe I'm just like, I don't know, subconsciously drawn to this horse.
And you're a Barry Manilow fan. Oh, Mandy, you came and you gave without taking, but I sent you away. That reminds me of Can't Hardly Wait, doesn't it? The movie?
Oh, that's a great movie.
Always.
I got whole other stories we can talk about off camera about that movie. But anyway, I think Mandy Green's an interesting horse. First, this is a horse that broke its maiden first time out. I really like that. And I think that's a good sign, especially in a field where a lot of times it takes a few horses, a couple of shots to break their maiden. I really think winning first time out was big. That race was supposed to be on turf, got taken off, was run on the synth. Getting a slight cutback in distance this time out. Clearly, once this horse on the turf, so there's an intent of this being a turf horse, but I think showed a lot by being able to win that maiden on synthetic. Additionally, just like I kind of talked about with Righteous Roy, this horse works out on turf as well, and the workouts on turf have looked great. And I like seeing young horses with those turf workouts. I think sometimes that's something which, when you're handicapping a race, and you're looking at young horses on turf and all you see are dirt workouts,
they don't let them in some places,
right? No, they don't.
Southern California, like you have to have a certain level of wins before you can work on the turf. So a lot of them don't even get the chance to in spots. Yeah,
they don't. And so it's a great insight into how do these horses take to that surface, because sometimes you'll see incredibly slow workouts on dirt and then the horse comes on turf and blows everybody away because it just doesn't like running on dirt. And so, like I said, I was very pleased with the workouts here for 8-1, $3,000. Like I said, I just think this horse is a little bit of a winner and showed a nice turn of foot in that maiden on synthetic. And you're going to need that same sort of turn of foot here today. So I like there to be some progression from Mandy Green at 8-1. I think this is a win candidate, but even if it comes in, second or third, it's not hurting your stable at all at 8-1. It's only going to cost you 3,000, going to keep you right on track for a winning stable.
And Matt needs you today. Oh, Mandy. So
love it.
Another $3,000 play over at Gulfstream Park. So plenty of opportunities between Matt's plays and Barry's plays today at Gulfstream Park to get you some real affordable prices in your lineups. Why I love doing shows like this is because, and why I love listening or watching. I try to be a sponge when it comes to, I've always got something on in the background. If it's horse racing this weekend with the Super Bowl, whatever I'm kind of handing, if it's Australian Open I'm looking at, I'll try to listen and see and pick some things up as much as I can. And, some people you're going to follow other angles or other horses you won't like, but in a spot like today, if you're playing at Gulfstream and maybe you've got 7 or 8 of your horses filled, but you just are having a tough time filling the other 2, well, boom. We've got like 4 or 5 opportunities now for you between these 2 guys at all short prices, like short salaries. They're not going to cost you a whole lot. So maybe just 1 or 2 of them will help you. And that maybe helps your lineup. Or maybe today you're playing a pick 4 and you're looking around and you throw one of those horses in, and that's the horse that gets you. I think that's the best way to use all the information you get when you're gambling. I don't necessarily adjust and based on what I've listened to someone and change everything that I thought. I like to add, I like to make notes for the future. So I think that's a great point to do because I've done it now with you guys in the last few weeks. I'm playing something at Sam Houston, Gulfstream, anywhere. I'm looking around. I'm going to throw in that other horse, especially when they're prices. We're never
from a StableDuel perspective. I know last week we did pretty well. I mean, a lot of our horses didn't actually win, but they were right there, second, thirds, all of them.
All day from the beginning at Gulfstream at Tampa, and then deep. I even sent you guys at Sam Houston last weekend. Like 4 straight in a row that were boom, 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 boom. So when we're seeing the ball well, and it's nice that we're 3-point shooters and that we don't need to hit as many. We're always giving you prices. So we're shooting the 3-pointers while everybody's shooting 2s. You keep making your 2s, we'll make our 3s. And you know what I mean? Like if we want to play that game, we'll be in decent shape all the time. So,
and I think the other thing that we try to do, and I think is something we're pretty successful doing, at least certainly lately, is even those 3s, they're not off by much.
No,
and they're not going to get you a negative 30. And that's what kills you on StableDuel is when you take a shot and you get a negative 30. I'm much more likely to get a negative 30, honestly, when I go with a favorite.
Yeah.
I know.
And they give up. And so a lot of these horses, even if they don't fire quite the way we expect, okay, they come in 4th, or 5th. And, okay, that's not killing you.
You don't feel bad about it, right? No. It's funny because when you play a horse like that too, I always feel like there's nothing worse for me than being alive in some rolling exotic or in StableDuel and like having to root for only the heavy favorite. Yeah. I get this weird pit in my stomach, like, no, they're going to like get into some trouble or, something's going to happen. You're like, this is what happens when I'm stuck rooting for that 4 to 5 shot, So
exactly.
We'll always do our best to try to get you some outside the box horses. And let's do so over at, do we have Tampa, Santa Anita for Friday?
I have Santa Anita and Sam for Friday.
Santa Anita for me also. So
Santa Anita.
Let's jump on over to Santa Anita for Friday. Barry, where do you want to head at Santa Anita for Friday?
Race 3.
Okay, race number 3. And who are we looking at in the third?
Third race. Interesting race, as they all are. I went with number 5, Start Entry, in this state bred optional climber 50,000 on the turf at 6. There's really, a lot of speed in here, I thought. I think Thirsty Always is going to go. Who's Candy kind of has to go also. I mean, there's some speed to the inside. And the reason I like Start Entry, there's a few reasons. I like the kind of drop into the state bred race, especially after coming from a mile race back into 6 furlongs on the turf. I thought this horse ran pretty good first time on the turf. Just kind of, I don't think they were trying to win that race. I think they were trying to put some bottom into this horse. I mean, he ran off and was out there by 7 lengths at one point and just backed up. I mean, clearly, it just, to me, just didn't seem like they were trying to win that race. Once that horse just flew out there at 80-1, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
Now dropping into this race, which is a more realistic level, and cutting back in distance, doesn't really need the lead. Should make a good run here. I like Ryan Curatolo. He
I do too.
Does a really good job getting horses to settle and then making a run. This horse fits him perfectly. So yeah, I'm willing to take a shot here. I know 5-1 isn't that long, but in a race where everybody's probably going to be about 3-1, this is probably the way to go.
It's funny. I'm actually right next door to you for a lot of the same reasons that you talked about with Star Entry.
I am too.
I went to Franklin 1 Star, which is really
same
funny.
here.
And Barry, you were talking about it. I think Franklin 1 Star is pretty quick, but can sit a little bit. They're taking the blinkers off, so I think they do want to sit a little bit. They're going to get Lasix for the first time. Debuted against Calbred Maiden Specials, and then they took a shot in a stakes race against Open Company last time out. That was just against a lot tougher. I mean, this one, Maglev, like, this is a nice horse who was second in the Eddie Logan and then came back to win the Baffle. I feel like it's a much better spot today for Franklin 1 Star, who's 5-1. So for a lot of the same reasons Barry was talking about, the 5, who I think should be able to sit just off a little bit, is going to cut back from a mile. Franklin 1 Star is cutting back from 6.5. I'm hoping they sit a little bit too. Some positional speed, but probably not the one to catch. And you're going to be also making your second start on the turf now. So lots of similar angles for us, Barry, with two separate horses that are right next door to each other. And Matt, if you want to continue and add anything here.
Yeah, I'll just say, Franklin 1 Star was my pick here at Santa Anita at 5-1 as well. And part of it was I looked at the profile of the favorite, Smuggler's Run, the 8 horse. Smuggler's Run and Franklin 1 Star have the exact same profile. Except you're getting 5-1 on Franklin 1 Star and you're getting 5-2 on Smuggler's Run. I mean, they both went out and broke their maidens, with pretty similar speed figures. In fact, Franklin 1 Star ran slightly better, but they both broke their maidens on dirt. They both then went up and ran in the Baffle on turf. Mm-hmm. And Franklin 1 Star just got a little too eager and was a little too, pumped up to be on the lead and ended up fading, but actually still finishing ahead of Smuggler's Run in that race. And now they're coming back and sitting in a much more reasonable spot, I think. Mm-hmm. Franklin 1 Star's got nice workouts coming up. And like I said, you're getting first-time you're getting first-time Lasix. The blinkers off, to Barry's point, a lot of that speed, that's great. I think Franklin 1 Star is not going to wear himself out this time and can kind of sit behind that speed. So, yeah, I think this is a race. I mean, obviously, we all pinpointed this race as one where you can beat the favorite. And you can beat the favorite with a little bit of a price. And, if for $6,000 on StableDuel, either Franklin 1 Star or Star Entry is a nice selection.
Yeah, we got the Star.
One of us is going to win, right? One of those two is going to win.
Unless the stewards reverse it, like we did what happened last week.
Which
was
bro,
painful. That was brutal.
That hurt because I just did not like Shaz at all.
Yeah, that was brutal. That's another podcast for itself.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to open that can of worms.
No, I was going to say that
hurts.
That was a brutal one. So we're hanging at Santa Anita for Friday. Barry, where else are we going to head?
Race 8.
Okay.
Race 8.
Who are we looking at in the 8th?
Maiden claimer, $30,000 claim price. I went to number 3, Midnight's Girl. I think this is just the right opportunity for this horse to be lone speed. I don't see the inside horses outquicking this one. And I don't see anybody outside of that horse outquicking this one. And it's just a matter of how long she wants to go. I like the break in the weight here. I think that can only add to it. The drop in class, going 6 again. She showed speed, pretty good speed on the January 2nd and just kind of faded. Probably needed that experience, especially on traditional dirt. And the speed figure jumped up a bit. So I'm thinking that this horse is going to hang around for a long time.
Midnight's Girl in StableDuel, absolutely. Another really nice value play. 8-1, you're going to get speed, and it's only going to cost you $3,000 on Midnight's Girl. Matt, where else are we heading for you on Santa Anita? Do you have another one or no?
I already shot my shot, so
okay,
I'm done.
I got one more. There we go. I got one more for you to close it out on Friday at Santa Anita, and we're gonna go to the number 8, and I'm going to Castle as another play for me here. So they're gonna go $25,000. These are $25,000 claimers, 6 furlongs on the turf course here. Castle had a brutal trip last time out. I'll show the replay here a little bit and kind of talk over it. So this was the first start in a few months for Castle. Castle is the number 8 in that last start also here. And so you get a good start, but this is one of my least favorite things. So, I mean, Castle's like on the lead right here. And now all of a sudden you grab a hold. I know there are a few other horses that go, but now look at where Castle is. You're like in the top group, and now you're like 4 lengths behind. Now you're in between all the way back here. I don't know why. Like I get grabbing a hold and not wanting to go, but how do you start so well and then end up that far back? It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So now you're all the way back to 9th. You're in the 2 path and you're trying to move sort of in between horses, but like now you got nowhere to go. And you keep trying to go in between horses, even right here, like angle to the outside and start to move. Well, I don't know why they keep trying to go in between down there. There's like running right up onto the heels of horses. There's like nowhere to go. Was Castle going to win this race? No. Could Castle have easily finished 3rd in this race? Absolutely. I mean, he was only beaten about a length when it was all said and done, and the horse like never got an opportunity to run whatsoever. So now, see, I love when you get the patterns like this too for a horse so Castle raced in May, off for a few months, raced in August, off for a few months, raced in October, off for a few months. Should be no excuses today. Should be fit, should be ready to go. Now you're going to drop back in from a 25 starter allowance where you're protected back into a 25 claimer. Heck, last time this horse was in a 25 claimer, he was favored. And again, it was another instance where he had a little bit of trouble. So he's gotten in some trouble, but he does have the ability and he fits really well in here. And he's only going to cost you $3,000 in your StableDuel lineup. That is
full disclosure. Ian Glass was my kind of fringe pick. It's a stable male horse that I have, on my own personal stable mail that I was looking forward to running today, but I don't know why I didn't pick this horse or actually even bring him up. But
Ian Glass is in I picked when I do like my selections or when I pick forwards and stuff together. I have Ian Glass actually picked 2nd. It's funny that you say that.
Yeah, the notes I have is needed the race badly.
Yeah,
will improve next time. So that's where we're at there.
So definitely, if you're playing any kind of late or rolling exotics. Some endorsement for Ian Glass as well. And this is actually on a 9-race card. You're going to have to double up somewhere. So you know what? Maybe even a situation where if you like these 2 horses, you end up using the 2 of them there at Santa Anita on Friday. So
hey, do it twice with our other 2.
Right? Boom. You double up, them all up, and then you're all set. And then you are all set for Friday at Santa Anita. So let's head to Saturday, fellas. And let's talk a little Tampa. Let's talk a little Santa Anita. We have 2 different contests and 2 different games we're going to get everybody set up for. So let's go to Tampa Bay Downs first. And Matt, pretty good card at Tampa. I think 4 stakes races. You got the Sam F. Davis, which is an excellent race on paper. Where are some of the races you're looking at? Tell us where we need to head first.
Yeah, so we can head in a lot of spaces for Tampa, but why don't we head to race? Let's see. Let's go to race 9, and let's go to the number 2 horse, Joyous Times. So this is a horse that's 8-1, and I think this is a pretty wide open allowance race that's sandwiched between the 2 big stakes races. I think it has some really nice really nice value from a StableDuel standpoint. The heavy favorite is Editor at Large, which is, I think, a perfectly fine horse, but it's run twice in the last 14 months and has only scratched an 80 buyer speed figure once. Therefore, I think Joyous Times brings a lot to the table. I think this is a horse that should outrun its odds. She has an inside post I actually like that, or towards the inside post. I like that coming out of the chute, actually, because they're going to be coming out of the chute on the turf and then onto the main track. We talk sometimes about how horses on the outside can get swung wide, and then suddenly they're stuck 3-4 wide going around turns and things like that. So I like the inside position. Additionally, this is a horse that should be on or near the lead. And it should be sitting on a stalking position, which is an ideal setup. And it's something that if people don't play Tampa very often, early speed is kind of the name of the game at Tampa, whether you're on dirt or turf. I know that sometimes is counterintuitive on the turf, but you don't need to be on the lead, but you better be close to it. And deep closers are not doing great there. So I like the fact that this horse will be well positioned, is not going to be pressed on the lead, but should be sitting 2, 3, 4. And I really just like that position all the way around. Should you have, like I said, a ground saving trip from there at 8-1, I think this is a horse that, like I said, provides some value. Prior to the layoff, she hit the board 6 out of 9 career efforts on turf. She came back last month and just knocked the rust off. I think should be primed for a really nice effort here. And so I have Joyous Times at 8-1 as a pretty strong win contender in race 9.
Joyous Times for Matt. We've got a lot of only $3,000 plays today for you out there. Lots of opportunities for you to get under what that average it would be in your StableDuel salary cap, what you need for each race. Barry, where's one of your Tampa plays for Saturday?
Race number 2.
Let's get back earlier in the card at Saturday at Tampa. Let's go to race 2. Who are we looking at in this second?
I'm going to continue this theme of $3,000 horses.
Love it.
Because I ended up with number 5, Peachtree Road.
Yeah.
Really interesting horse here in a race that seems to be kind of wide open.
Going to get bet. You can tell right away, right?
Yeah. Well, that was part of the reasoning that I like this horse, especially from a StableDuel perspective.
Right.
I mean, you can see in her past performances, first time out ran up against Princess Noor, and didn't disgrace herself. Ran okay. Every race actually she's run has been okay. This to me just seems like the best logical spot. Especially with all the action in this race. I mean, you got a horse in number 7, Wheezy Does It, that kind of should have won already and didn't. Came back, ran up against a Chad Brown horse and didn't do anything there. So, at a 9-2, I'm not really enthusiastic because I know that horse is going to get bet also.
Yep.
You have a horse like the 8 Cielo de Oro that, had chances to win this, right? And at 3-1 on the line, there's no way I can bet a horse like that. Naval Battle hasn't been out in over a year. From the rail, no less. There's lots to knock there. The 2 horses that kind of, I was wavering on were the 3 Silver Sea and Peachtree Road, but I ended up with Peachtree Road because she's got some better class races behind her. Hadn't been out in a while, but this is what Arnaud Delacour does. This is like his sweet spot.
We've already seen 3 next out winners from that last race she came out of. Queen Goddess won the American Oaks. That was taken off the turf. Summer Daisy came back to win that maiden special weight race. And then even the 4th place finisher, Cedar Stars, came out to win. So she is coming out of some really
probably going to be favorite. I always think she's going to be vying for favoritism if she's not the favorite.
This is like one of those horses that you feel like is almost a must use in StableDuel, just from like hey, you're paying for a horse that's probably only going to be 3,000, and they're just going to go off much shorter than that. So sniffing out horses like this is part of the game in StableDuel, honestly, in that you look for a couple races like this and you're like, okay, win or lose, like I feel like this is a horse who I probably have to use in this spot. So really good find there with Peachtree for Barry early on in the card there. And again, another instance where Peachtree Road is 8-1 on the morning line at $3,000 in StableDuel. Won't cost you a whole heck of a lot. I'm going to move towards the end of the card into one of the stakes races. I'm going to go to race number 7, the Pelican. And Baby Yoda, shout out. I just finished watching the 7th episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Our guy Grogu hanging around there, making things happen. Little Baby Yoda's here will be the heavy favorite, and Baby Yoda's A game is very good, but he's not the type of horse I think you could ever use in StableDuel, or for me at least. He just is going to cost you way too much, and I really don't trust him all that much either. Bank on Shea is very logical right next door. This horse should take a big step forward. I wouldn't talk anybody off of wanting to use Bank on Shea. I actually think the 6, Cajun Casanova, is kind of interesting. Is he, as classy as some of the other two on their best? Probably not. But look at what this horse has done recently. So he came into the Delgado barn, and the first couple starts for Delgado, they were going 5.5 at Monmouth on the turf in the middle of last year, in July and in August. And actually, they weren't bad races. They were behind the Critical Way and Belgrano, who we're also going to see. Belgrano is a horse who's like a legitimate turf stakes sprinter. And he was third in the grade 3 last time out. He's running at Gulfstream Park, right? This weekend. He's running this weekend somewhere. So he's and look at this race. It was strong. You're behind King of Dreams. Like, this is actually a really quality race. Those two on the grass, I think you can completely excuse. And then you return in November and look at the 3 races since. You've got a win. The race on December the 11th, that was actually a pretty good effort. This horse got pushed out at the start way back. You can see it says carried out at the start, and actually made a big move, loomed up, but that was going 7 furlongs. I think that's just a little too far for Cajun Casanova. It kind of loomed up and then just flattened out. So I think it's a good spot if you're looking for a horse to go against the very logical horses to his inside. I bank on Shea, no doubt should step forward again here. Baby Yoda, the class of the field. But give me a horse that, again, that's our magic number today, fellas. Everything 3,000, everything around that 8 to 1-ish range. So, gives you a lot of opportunity if you go here, maybe even if you just catch a third and you finish behind the 2 others. You run well, but you can spread out and you can spend up in some of the other races. Give me Cajun Casanova in race number 7. Barry, let's go back to you. We got anything else on Saturday at Tampa? Where are we looking?
Absolutely. And I'm going to stay with this 8 to 1 theme.
Let's roll.
Race number 5.
Okay. Love it.
Oh, I think we might be on the same horse.
Yeah, I think we probably are. Just
great.
Knowing how we are. I like number 12, Bluster.
Yes.
Yeah, this horse, definitely, got a little bit of an education out of that first run at Turfway. Jonathan Thomas is pretty decent second time out, and he knows how to spot his horses. I think this horse has a lot of upside here, getting blinkers on, Lasix, getting the makeover package. It should be a lot better today, show a lot more speed. And I love the post position on the outside with everyone inside. That, especially with younger horses, that way, if they do kind of break outwardly, they're not going to get compromised too much, and then they can see all the action inside and make a run. This horse may even be on the lead. I don't even know, but I just know that this horse is definitely going to improve off that last one.
I agree. Yeah. Blustery, Matt, tell us a little bit about Blustery also.
Yeah, well, the other thing I really like is the jockey, Manny Franco. You get Manny Franco on this horse. I mean, Manny Franco is going to be aggressive out of the gate. This horse needs to be aggressive. The blinkers on, forwardly placed. To Barry's point, I would not be surprised if this horse is on the lead. And listen, I get it. There's a big, Chad Brown, and there's a big Shook McGahee, first-time runner in these races. But, one of the things we've talked about before is those first-time runners, sometimes they fire, sometimes they don't. And, I mean, when horses are debuting this late, a lot of times it's, maybe they're slow developing, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it just
or they had a physical issue. There's something. It's usually not a positive, right? Because if they're banging down the barn, they're going to be running.
Right. And so even if they're just slow developers, well, that means they're slow developers, and maybe their best races are yet to come. Mm-hmm. And so I like, finding those types of races and going on a horse that at least, had some experience, went out there, ran, it didn't run poorly at all, finished 4th out of 11. So, it certainly was a respectable finish there. To Barry's point about Thomas, I think, placing the horses pretty well second start. That was something that kind of stuck out to me as well. So I really like Blustery in this spot as well.
Another consensus pick here on Blustery.
And I have one more. I can give a cheaper one. I can break the 3,000 stretch.
I got one. Okay, go ahead. Where are we going to go for yours, Matt?
So we can go race 3.
Okay, race 3.
And so this is the number 5 horse, which is 10-1, which will only cost you $1,000 on StableDuel. And Gino, to your point, if you want to spend on a horse like Nest, let's say, in later on, that's going to cost you $12,000 right there. And that's a big price on a horse at StableDuel. So you're going to need some cheap plays around a horse like that if you want to use it. I think Royal Court's a horse that I find interesting because I think this is a horse that has a very high ceiling, but it still has some potential upside.
A nice floor.
And it's consistent. I mean, you rarely see consistency with horses at this level, who've yet to break their maiden, but you have 3 finishes and 3 finishes on the board of 5 career races. Since transitioning to dirt, you've seen some progression there. You saw a big jump from the first time on dirt to the second time out. That's also the second time on Tampa. So this horse is getting more familiar with the surface. Also, if you look, last time this horse ran 2 lengths behind the second favorite Off John, who's going off at 3-1. Again, like we talked about before with one of the other horses earlier, there isn't that gap necessarily between one of the favorites and this horse at 10-1. So I think that gap is a lot smaller. I think this is a horse that could still show some improvement. And even if you get the floor of this horse, I still think you're getting maybe a 3rd place performance.
Exactly, yeah.
So I just really like this horse for $1,000 to round out your stable.
Royal Court in race number 3 for Matt. I'm going to head a little later on in the card. I've got a couple more in races 8 and then race 10. Let's start in the 8th, and then we'll jump over and see if anybody has any opinions in the Sam F. Davis and take a look at that big one. But in the 8th race, you mentioned Nest. That's the horse to beat, no doubt about it. Nest is a grade 2 winner here. Nest hasn't run since December, so we're talking 2 months. And when you start thinking about horses like this, Nest is probably thinking about the Kentucky Oaks. That's the game plan for Nest. So is Nest sort of like we saw with Mo Donegal in the Holy Bull last week? Is Nest worried about winning this race? I don't know. I mean, she might just be so good that she just beats this field when she's not even cranked all that much. But I'm never going to you'll very rarely see me spending up on horses like this in StableDuel, just because she's got to be perfect. And if she's not, then you're in some trouble. I went a little bit elsewhere in here, and I'm looking at a horse who, is the 6 quite as good on paper? Probably not. I mean, not. Peaceful Surprise, right? She only raced 1 time so far. But let's take a look at the number 7, and let's watch a little bit of her race here in the debut. Anytime a horse can win their debut going long, first time out of the box, I think that's pretty tough to do. Like, I'm always going to take note when we have a horse that can win first time out. So she's the 7 in this race, and she's 3 deep going into the turn, then settles about 5 lengths off in 6th, and then moves to the inside through a tight spot. That's another thing that I like. So you're outside going into the turn, then you kind of settle inside, then you move up the rail. Felt like a race where she learned a lot. She kind of had to do a lot. It wasn't like, she sat 2nd right off the leader and won. She had to move from the outside, had to move to the inside. You see, she's back here, kind of has to shift around a little bit, like run an actual horse race, learn some things, pick some things up. I start going through the rest of this field. She's got some upside in here. She's going to duck in. She's going to look really impressive when she wins this race. And like I said, after you take Nest out of the equation, and then the rest of the field, you have a little Love and Luck. You've got Penny. You've got Princess Ellen. They start to look a lot more comparable. The horse that she beat, 3rd place finisher, has already come back to win. And here she comes. She's going to loom up on the inside, and she's just going to get a really nice run through here. That is Peaceful Surprise. Never easy for a horse to win like this first time out, going 1 mile and 40 yards, but she did. And now they're going to give her the acid test. They're going to see if she's ready to rock against some of the better, as she's able to angle to the outside here and get by Take a Stand, who sort of shifts in a little bit, and the 7 blows on by. So that's a 10-1 shot, only going to cost you $1,000 in your StableDuel lineups. But fellas, as we head to the Sam F. Davis, want to ask your opinions in the Sam F. Davis, boys. Let's start with you, Barry. Did you have a thought on the big race for Saturday?
Oh, Barry, you're muted.
I do not actually. I didn't really get into that race too heavily.
Don't worry about it.
You know, my initial thought is a horse like number 8, Shipsational, is a horse that I like stretching out.
Now, one horse that I think you may like a little bit also, Barry, is the horse who I like in here, Strike Hard. Just look at what Strike Hard's form looks like after last week. Look at the 2 most recent horses he lost to, White Barrio and Simplification.
Yeah.
So he was actually favored in the Mucho Macho Man over Simplification. And honestly, the race was basically won really early on in the field in the race. So Strike Hard is the 2 and Simplification is the 3 in here. And they both are, forwardly placed, but there's a decision that's got to be made right here early on. And you can see it's, what are we going to do? Do we continue on and like put a little pressure, or do we let this horse go? Well, they decide to kind of back off. The 2's right here on the lead. And a lot of the times horses that are on the rail like this, they shoot up because they don't want to get the shuffle back. But unfortunately, Strike Hard takes back a little bit. And what happens? You get the shuffle back there on the inside. Instead of being up here, he's already lost 2 lengths. And that's the difference in the race. That's the difference between winning and losing this race. Simplification cruises. Strike Hard has to back all the way up. And then he's got to go in between. So we know that we know that Simplification came back and ran well. He missed the break, and he was a very solid second. White Barrio, who our boy Barry was all over last week, won that race too. So I think the form is very good. Those horses ran well, Matt. I know Major General is another horse who's sort of gearing up for Pletcher. I'm going with the Deuce, or was the Deuce going to be the 11 in here? Hard.
I mean, you just got to think about, after doing the South Florida shuffle, that horse kind of tried to go outside, then came back inside, and just think about the amount of distance traveled compared to everybody else after getting shuffled, because there was some indecisiveness there. But the horse finished up really strong. I didn't think that horse will be 6-1 when the time comes. I think that horse is going to be around 2-3-1.
I was going to say 7-2. I would be surprised if and that's a good use for StableDuel for me, because I just feel people are seeing what we're seeing too, right? They're going to see that those horses came back and ran well, and this
hope so, or I hope not.
Hope not, right? Hope not. And if they're not, we'll be able to capitalize quite a bit with Strike Hard there. Any opinion for you in the Sam F. Davis, Matt?
Yeah, it's funny. Like Barry, I like Shipsational quite a bit. I think that's a good horse, but this was one where it's interesting. Like you, I also this was not a race where I was overwhelmed by the favorites, and so I'm looking other places. And I think this is a race where you can go to those 5-1, 6-1, even 8-1 horses.
Howling Time.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think a lot of those horses in that 5-1 to 8-1 range are really live in this particular race.
Golden Glider at 12-1.
Some of the Cassie,
looks
some of those
good.
Some of those Cassie horses look good. And I'll be honest, this is something that happens sometimes for me in StableDuel. Is there'll be a big day, like obviously the Sam F. Davis day, and a lot of times the Sam F. Davis is a really, this is a very evenly matched field. They could go a lot of different ways. It's not uncommon for me to skip the biggest race on the card.
Sure.
And just go, something? I like this horse, but I could see this horse finishing 5th too. And so, and so I'd much rather go to those races where I go, I know how this race is going to play out and use those. And honestly, as a viewer, then it alleviates my stress because I can just sit back and enjoy the race, and I don't have to have a rooting interest necessarily.
It's like coming up this weekend. If you're not a Rams fan or a Bengals fan, you just get to kick back, watch the Super Bowl. And Barry, I've got a play for you this weekend as a little bit of a shout out as we make our transition from Tampa to Santa Anita for Saturday. So I always like to, I play a bunch of the props and stuff, but I always like to have a couple on things that have nothing to do with the football game, just because they're a blast. So I'll always make a little bet on here too. I'll dig into the halftime show a little bit. So this year we've got Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, and Eminem. And so some of the things I like to look at are
songs.
What song's going to be first and who's going to be the first one out on the stage. And so I'll dig into some of the sets. I'll look at their live concerts on YouTube. I'll look into things that
you got past performances for halftime shows.
Exactly, right? You got to pad those. One of my biggest scores ever was with Katy Perry years back. I pegged that one. So I got
left shark.
I got
right
one
shark.
For you, Barry. Now I'm figuring we're in California. Everyone's thinking California love, but that's got to be last. That's got to be California love. Everybody's partying as they say goodbye. California love. They can have their drinks even.
I don't know, man. I think they're going to come out with that one.
California knows how to party. But my whole point is that I don't think that's the opener. I think that's the closer because that's the big one. I think the best way to open the first thing that you hear at halftime is la da 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 da. It's the mother effing D-O-double-G, Snoop Dogg.
Maybe.
Roll call. Snoop Dogg introduces Dr. Dre, and then he can introduce everyone. When you think of California and Southern California, you even think of Snoop more than Dre, which is kind of weird. Dre's become kind of bigger, more global, and more national than Snoop. Snoop is such a real local guy that I think that was a Snoop-Dre collab. That's the way that Snoop comes out. You hear his voice first. He introduces everyone. Then Snoop goes to Mary J. Then you can bring in Mary J. You can bring in Kendrick. You can bring in Eminem to have his few. And then you close it out with California Love. Plus 375 for Snoop Dogg to be the first artist. And the next episode, the first song. Those are a couple of my plays for the halftime show. So if you hear if we hear the la da 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 right off the bat, this guy in Long Beach, I'm gonna be cripping myself over here. I'm gonna be cripping, and I'll post a little video of me cripping if we get that for sure. So let's get a little.
It's like in the Olympics when Snoop went nuts when the equestrian was crip walking. The equestrian horse was going nuts.
Those horses are cripping.
Now I'm just gonna bump like West Coast rap for the rest of the day because now you got me like that was like high school and college for me. So that was
dig it in. I always have fun digging in there. Yep. We're gonna dig into the Saturday card over at Santa Anita. Barry, where do you want to head on Saturday at the Great Race Place?
No idea. No, I'm just kidding. I have two. One in the fifth race and one in the seventh.
Okay, let's go to race number 5.
All right, this optional claimer 50K, 1 mile on the grass, and I just didn't like anybody in this race. I wasn't really fond of Aloha Kitten. I think Ultimate High is probably, this isn't his best distance or her best distance. Pop-Pop's Dream is kind of on the rise here. Definitely vulnerable, first time at this level. And She's Devoted is I think going to get caught out a little bit wide. And I'm not too fond of that horse either. So I ended up on the 4.
Oh, we did together. Gleska Gal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Gleska Gal has some races to go to prior to coming to the States. Absolutely. Way over her head in the Goldakova back in November. First time off the layoff going 6.5 down the hill. Wasn't that bad of a performance, wasn't that great. Split the field. I think this is the race that they're looking for and the one that they're looking to win. This mile trip probably will be better. And she looks like she's getting better off of those 2 performances.
It's another instance, Barry, where she's in this race and you got a good start and they wrangle
her back.
Yeah. She's in a fine spot, but now you grab a hold. And instead of just holding your position here, she ends up kind of getting a little farther. Now she's in between. She's got to kind of back out of that. So, again, that's not, right there. When you have a horse who she's 13-1 in that race, and she's going to be 15-1 here, but she's going to get bet a little bit. But when you have horses like that, you can't have problems, right? You can't get a little shuffle, and now you're kind of waiting behind horses. So now it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But look, she's in the third flight instead of being in the second flight. That's just having to wait behind another group of horses. So now, while she's looking around for some room, there really isn't that much. She's got to angle all the way to the outside and in between horses. So now you shift from being behind, you angle all the way to the outside in between, and she's kind of looks like she's done, but then the horses pass her and she sort of kicks in again and keeps going. That was her first start in a few months. So if she's just a little bit better off of that, and she's got like a length of a better trip based on, not having to get shuffled. Barry, you and I are on the same one in here. We're on our guy Curatolo again with Gleska Gal. Heck, at 15-1, she's only going to cost us $500, right? In our StableDuel lineup.
Yes,
and
sir.
I got a feeling that she's going to be first click more like a 5 or 6-1 shot than the 15 that we're ending up here. So Gleska Gal will be, Matt, you hit this too. Anytime you can find a double-digit horse at Santa Anita, like a 10-1 shot or plus, and you make a case for them, you gotta throw them in your StableDuel lineup, because there are going to be some races that are just short fields where you won't have the opportunity. You're going to have to spend in those races.
Yeah, I didn't really particularly think she liked that trip. I don't think she liked the downhill trip, and she didn't look comfortable. And then once she leveled off, kind of in the stretch, she kind of kicked on, and I think that's more conducive to this mile trip, and I think she's got better positional speed than what was shown there.
That's what I want. I want her to be more forwardly placed in here, sitting the trip she kind of sat when she went the mile 2 back. And like you said, man, that race, that Going Global Zofel Princess Grace race on Breeders' Cup undercard. I mean, that was a loaded group. Compared to like a field that she's facing in here. So Gleska Gal for me and the sniper, we team up over at Santa Anita in race number 5. Where do you want to head, Matt?
Yeah, we can go to race number 3, and we can go to the number 2 horse, Freedom Lass. And this is a $50,000 starter allowance, 6 furlongs on the turf. And this is a horse that I think is pretty consistent. 6-1, it's going to cost you $5,000 on StableDuel. This is a horse that has been running in these $50,000 starter allowances for quite a while. So it's very comfortable at this level. It doesn't win very often, but it hits the board a whole lot. It's cutting back from a mile to 6 furlongs. It didn't have a great trip the one time when it went 6.5 furlongs, but that was also, it's through its head. It wasn't a good trip. Yep. And I don't think it had anything to do with the distance. I just think the horse's disposition that day and maybe some of the decisions were not just that great. So, if you look at how this horse has been riding recently, this horse has been riding quite well, and also tends to attract really good jockeys. You have Bays on it today, but Johnny Velasquez previously, Flavian Pratt before that, Juan Hernandez before that. So it's a horse that's just been churning out, mid to high 70s buyer speed figures the last 4 times out, and really doesn't turn in bad performances. And again, in this field, I look at, the 5-2 favorite Translate. And, okay, it's a good horse, but it's also a horse that's best speed figure was back all the way back in last January, and otherwise has been running in the 60s with 170. So,
and that race last time out, it was a field of 4 where this horse was so much better than that group, and she just crushed. Like, I don't like playing horses off of wins like that where I don't know what she did in order to earn that figure or to look that good.
Yeah. So I like Freedom Lass. I think this is a pretty strong win candidate, actually. And at 5-1, I think, or 6-1, I should say, for $5,000, you're getting good value. And as you just mentioned, you always got to jump on good value at Santa Anita when you can find it. And even finding a horse that's just an average price is a win sometimes, especially if you feel like it's a winner and you're not stretching for a 3rd or 4th place horse.
Like for me, for the rest of the day at Santa Anita, like everything that I like is all in the 4-5 to 1-ish range, 7 to 2-ish range. So like I needed a horse like Gleska Gal in order to build my lineup. And now I feel at least a little bit better, because otherwise I would have been in some serious trouble. I got one more. I know I got one more at Santa Anita for Saturday. Barry, do you have another or?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Where do you want to look?
Race 7.
let's get you to race number 7 at Santa Anita on Saturday. Again, big thank you to everyone for hanging out with us on this Friday morning. We started a little bit earlier this week, and a big thank you to Matt and to Barry for helping me out. I had a couple things to take care of today, so we got a little earlier in the morning. Always earlier, better than later. So that way you have more time to listen to what's going on here.
I would also like to put in a big thank you and a promotional plug to Diet Mountain Dew for helping me be ready and cognizant early this morning. So
I was going to say, there we go. Some good stuff. A little Code Red, a little Code, yeah, if you need. Okay, Barry, who are you looking at?
Oh, for you people that like to drink, Apple Royal Crown and Mountain Dew Code Red tastes like candy apple.
Okay.
Ooh, all right.
I gotta sign me up for that.
There you go. That's the Valentine's Day special right there.
Okay. Okay.
It's red. It's also red, so you're good.
Oh, beautiful. I actually have never in my life had a cup of coffee. Like we were talking about drinking. Like I've never had, because I don't need any extra energy. No, I don't need any. It was funny, like, when we were younger with my buddies, when we'd be out partying and stuff. I'm in California, so I've dabbled in some things here and there. We're out. It's a lot of stuff's legal, but like we'd be with some of my friends, and like I've never done like any uppers or anything like that. And when my friends were around, I would joke with them, and I'd be like, "Do you want to see what I look like if I did that?" And then everybody would just be like, "No. I don't think so. I don't think it would be good for anybody if Gino had like any additional energy or any other substances making him have more energy." So that was never needed for me. Even to this day, I've never had a cup of coffee in my life. It just it would get me shaking. I drank an energy drink, a Red Bull. I can still remember I was doing it was like the final race of the day at Del Mar years back when I was working at TVG with and Mike Joyce was doing the nightcap thing he used to do. It was a segment where on the last race, he'd come on and he'd like pour a drink for whoever was there. And we were just mixing up Red Bulls, and I pounded the Red Bulls, and I was driving home from San Diego. I had to pull over. I was like shaking it's just too much for me. I just don't need it at all whatsoever. But Barry, I mean, in the 7th race, are we rocking the bourbon? We're talking all about the
Close. We're going to the 5 Distorted Queen, throwing another one downfield here.
There we go.
And another race where the favorites look okay, but they have the 7 Carol Girl at 9-5 on the line, and that horse merits some consideration here, but not 9-5 in a field where everybody kind of looks the same. You got horses that are coming into this for the first time. This is a lot tougher than it looks like, especially switching surfaces to the turf. But I ended up going with the Distorted Queen. I think this is what they were trying to do all along, is get this horse on the turf. Kind of a high-priced horse. It sold for $200K way back in Keeneland, September. But I mean those races that she already has were kind of like just seemed like she was just getting on the track. And then Jonathan Wong has really great numbers first time turf. Blinkers come off, which is another good angle of his. So I'm expecting this is the performance, or what they want to see what this horse is made of.
Yeah.
It's the right spot to do it. There's not a whole lot in here that you can say, wow, this horse is up against it. I don't know why the 15-1 morning line, but I'll take it. Another one that kind of caught my eye too was Phenom, but but I still think this horse has a lot more upside than anybody in the field, and at 15-1 I couldn't resist.
And if they can either get in front of Phenom or just sit right behind Phenom and just not battle head and head, just either let one go or sit right behind, like you said, I like the upside with Distorted Queen a lot more, trying the grass for the first time. So great call here on Distorted Queen. This might be one that I have to steal for my StableDuel lineup for Saturday from Barry here with Distorted Queen. So I
can tell you who I don't like is the 10.
Hemmerly.
No part of that horse in this race. Do not want any of it.
3-time beaten face. See, like Hemmerly is the type of horse who, if Hemmerly is like 5-1 or over, I'm fine with. But Hemmerly is going to be 5-2, and that's sort of the problem. Is that like Hemmerly is going to get bet because people are going to see like the Cairo Memories race and the Tezzeret race and stuff. So I wouldn't be a shock, but but I would never play a horse like this, I don't think, in StableDuel at that price. And I would need to bet the horse to win. Like, I would need 5-1. And like I said, you're probably just not going to get that. So it's always got to come down to price. Everything in racing.
Absolutely.
Always, one thing I was able to get when I was younger, I would get so frustrated if I like had a winner of a race and I messed it up, or I didn't bet that horse, or like I missed something. And it's like, I can find 5-2 shots that I like all the time. So that doesn't bother me anymore. It's a 20-1 shot that I missed on that I didn't like. Those are the ones that bother me. And so now I make sure that I don't let those horses pass me by. The 5-2s, 3-1s, I'll find more of them down the line. Matt, where do you want to head at Santa Anita? Any more for you?
I just had the one, so that's it.
I got one more, and then we'll finish up. And this one's not even the biggest price in the world, but I think this is a really nice horse, and I'm pretty excited to see this one run. And she's actually still a maiden in this stakes race in race number 9.
Javonica's running?
Not Javonica. I'm talking about the number 7, Kitty Kitana, who will be making her second start in the U.S. She's going to be making her third career start. She was the number 7 in this race that we saw last time out. She was behind the horse Urban, who's also going to be in this race here. So she's the 7 in this spot, and she's got a fine start, but it's another instance where she has a good start, but kind of everybody else lines up. And so she's in between horses. She's got to back out of it. Boom. And now all of a sudden, look where she goes. She lost herself about 2 or 3 lengths now. She's down to the inside, and she's, about 5-6 lengths off or so. Now she gets shuffled back a little bit more. She's the number 7 down inside. This was her first start since September. This was her first start for Phil D'Amato. This was her first start, in North America. So she has a lot of reasons to feel like she can improve over here. She settled pretty nicely, and now she's just got to make a big wide move. And that's just not something that ever works out all that well, right? She ends up having to wait. She goes wide, and take a look at the winner, Urban. Look at what the 8 does. Saves all the ground and then just shifts out and gets a perfect trip and gets like a two length jump on her. So by the time Kitty Kitana gets on even terms with Urban, well, Urban's got so much left in the tank because Kitty Kitana had to just kind of run her race just to get up on even terms here. And she's got the right to get a little bit tired late after the travel, after her first start in North America and everything. So I think people will lean towards Urban, but this is the type of horse that she's 4-1. So in StableDuel, she's going to cost you $7,000. But if you are playing stuff at Santa Anita, like I would single her in exotics and stuff at the end because she won't be a favorite, I don't think. And this will be a race where you have a few 3-1 shots. I think she's got a lot of upside. I really like her in that spot quite a bit. That is, one more time, the number 7, Kitty Kitana. And as Barry was kind of mentioning earlier with the different horse, I actually think the downhill will be kind of beneficial for her. I think she'll sort of like it. She came out of that 7-furlong synthetic race in her debut. So I think if she gets just sort of the layout of the downhill will be even more kind to her. So a really fun weekend coming up where we've got action over at Gulfstream, Santa Anita, Sam Houston, but the big one that we'll all be focusing in on is on Saturday at Tampa with that Sam F. Davis contest. It is a $50 entry fee in StableDuel, $30,000 in cash prizes. Barry, you and I are going to hit one of these big ones soon. Matt did excellent recently. He's been doing a great job, and shout out to our buddy Caleb Barry, who did some earlier. Caleb had an awesome winner just a few weeks ago. I've touched base with Caleb. He might join us on one of these maybe moving forward. And I talked with Mike Rennie.
Ready.
We're going to get a little smoke one of these weeks on this show, I think, hanging out with us too. So we'll have to see what's smoking with Mike one of these weeks and get all just – I mean, he's got such a great vibe. What a fantastic way to start your morning when he comes rolling right in. I love it. I love it. So shout out to Mike, and we'll try to get him incorporated with us in one of these next few weeks. I know he's always doing a great job at Gulfstream Park. He sees the ball very well over there. So Barry, my man, thank you so much again. I really appreciate you jumping on early with us today. Matt, thanks so much again. I love hanging out with you guys every Friday. And actually, we'll figure it out next week. I am going to be in Sam Houston. I'm going to be at Sam Houston next week.
All right.
Heading out to
Nice.
help out with the broadcast on Friday. And then Saturday, it's a Texas preview day for them. So they've got a bunch of stakes races on Saturday night. So I might be doing our stream from my hotel room over in Houston. So
Okay.
we will reconnect on that. But I look
Yeah,
forward.
I'm gonna be out at Tampa Bay tomorrow. So
Oh, there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So anyone that's in the Tampa Bay, anyone that's out there, make sure to go look for Barry, say hello, and let me know if you see him. I'll shoot you a few bucks so you can go buy Barry a drink. And,
Yeah. Get Barry that
candy apple, right?
yeah, the candy apple. I was just gonna say.
there we go. The worlds all collide. The worlds all come together.
He just better not have to be on TVG after that. You know,
I was
you don't want to be on TV after knocking back too many drinks. So
I was gonna say it's never stopped a few people before, but
True that.
they've gotten themselves thrown out of there afterwards. But anyways, Barry, my man, thank you so much. Matt, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Everyone, thank you for hanging out with us here. If you check in for a minute, if you hang out with us for the entire hour, always appreciative. And if you need any help with the races this weekend on That's What G Said podcast, this weekend was one of the most racing I can remember, just different tracks. We did Friday, Santa Anita Best Bets, Friday, Sam Houston full card, Saturday, Santa Anita Best Bets, Saturday, Sam Houston full card. We hit the stakes races at Tampa. We hit the stakes races at Gulfstream. We talked the El Camino Real Derby at Golden Gate, and we hit the stakes races at Oaklawn. So anywhere there's a big race, we've got it covered for you. And like here, always, I'm never trying to lead you guys to chalk horses or short price horses. If it's a race where I don't think we can bet, I'll just tell you, hey, you know what? Short price, maybe not worth betting. Let's move along and find a play in the next race. Always trying to steer you guys in the right direction with Matt, with Barry. And this weekend, make sure to get those entries in and play, race, win.